for the father of the bride. Yom Zeh Mechubad Mikol Hayomim. This day is an honored and blessed day. Yom Zeh Mechubad Mikol Hayomim. This day is an honored and blessed day. Not only because we are celebrating the wedding of Lisa and Steve, not only because I was lucky at the casino across the street this morning, but because Cindy and I are honored by the presence of our family and friends. Many of you have traveled repeatedly here from Cleveland, Chicago, Florida, and now South Carolina to enhance our special occasions. We are very grateful. I wish to welcome the Rosenfeld family to upstate New York, and a special thanks to Michael Rosenfeld for making such a mensch out of his older brother. My friends since grammar school, Rabbi Leon Well and Rabbi Shale Siegel, are with us today. When we weren't playing sports or trying to get the attention of girls, we learned a bit of Torah. Clearly, they were very successful at this. I usually meet my daughter's boyfriends at Shabbos dinner. The girls arrange the date and the menu with Cindy. And then they say to me, "Please be friendly this time." Before Lisa brought Steve over to the house, she told me there may be one problem with Steve. He's a Mets fan. I had still not forgiven the Mets for cheating the Chicago Cubs out of the 1969 pennant. After I met Steve, I knew he was an excellent person, and I really could not blame him for the failure of my baseball team. A few weeks ago, I was sitting in my synagogue during the Mincha service at Yom Kippur. I always enjoy this part of Yom Kippur because that means that the fast is almost over, and the story of Yonah has always intrigued me. Briefly, the story has three main characters. God, who orders the prophet Yonah to the city of Nineveh to tell the people to repent or be destroyed. Yonah, the prophet, who surprisingly disobeys God and takes a boat in the opposite direction. And lastly, the dog Gadol, the big fish that swallows the prophet for 3 days until he changes his mind and agrees to obey God's command. Clearly, Yonah was a bit stubborn. After 2005, the role the typhoon plays in the story became more meaningful to me. That was the year that Lisa lived in Orlando, Florida, and worked for Disney World. During that time, Cindy called Lisa several times a week and tried to convince her to come back home. "The weather here is beautiful and I'm doing fine," was usually the answer. 2 hurricanes hit Orlando, Florida in early August of that year. Each one caused a loss of water and power for several days. After a few days before the fall semester was about to begin at the Buffalo State College, Lisa called. "A third hurricane is 48 hours away. I want to come home. Snow is better than this." She loaded her car and was blown home 1 day before college classes began. Since her grandfather had been a professor at the State College for over 50 years, she was able to register in classes that were already full. Several years later, Cindy and I enjoyed her college and then her graduate school graduations. Like the story of Yonah, a hurricane caused a positive outcome. We read in Pirkei Avos, "Ahav she'enu tolid b'davor, enu batal la'olam. Love, not dependent on worldly things, lasts forever. We wish you both everlasting love. At this time, I wish to introduce my wife, Cindy. She is responsible for almost all of the good things that happen to this family. Thank you very much.
Lisa's Hebrew name is Kaya Brock, blessed life, and she has been a blessing from the day she was born. Lisa is named Kaya for Sam's maternal grandmother, and Bracha for his half-sister, who were both murdered during the Holocaust. Lisa is a credit to both of them, and to my in-laws who loved their little Lamkula. As a child, Lisa had many talents. She was a facile and fearless gymnast, a natural musician who took viola and saxophone lessons, and a full-throated member of her high school's choir. She appeared in musicals at Kadima School and Kenmore West High School and shone in her performances. Despite her penchant for entertaining, Lisa is a practical thinker and never considered making performance her life's work. Instead, she was destined by a lively mind and loving heart to be a social worker like her grandma Ursula. She was president of the Social Work Honor Society at Buffalo State College and won the Peace Conference Essay Contest there in 2002 for an article about her Zadie. She loved running into her grandpa on campus and occasionally having lunch with him, while her fellow students wondered enviously how she got such special attention from a full professor. Lisa is non-judgmental and looks for the positive in all people. That trait certainly helped bring Lisa and Steve to this day. I remember the day that Lisa first saw Steve. She and I were sitting on our family room couch, and she was J-dating, a term familiar to many of the singles in this room and their mothers, and decided to email a particularly intriguing young man going by the handle Steve23AE83. They agreed to meet for dinner at a restaurant called the Family Tree. She called me from the parking lot afterwards. I think I like this boy, but he rode up on a bicycle, and he lives in a Red Roof Inn. I feared that this time she'd been a real criminal. A guy with no fixed address and no car. Clearly she wasn't as worried as I, though. Within a couple of weeks, I knew this was serious business. Lisa told me to cancel not only her J-Date subscription, but also the Jewish Cafe, Saw You at Sinai, and to lay off my personal favorite, J-Mom. Never in all the years of looking for her Bashir had she asked me to do this. Soon, Steve became a frequent Shabbat visitor, and we could all see that Lisa was in love. It didn't take too long before Steve realized he was in love too, and he asked our permission to marry. He told me to keep it a secret, and I did. For all of 30 seconds before I called my mother, Sophia, Gabby, and Susie, so I could spread the relief around a little. Lisa loves Steve, and he loves her back. A perfect beginning to a beautiful life for them, and a little less internet dating for me. I do, however, still have 2 eligible daughters.
Okay, can everyone hear us? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, well, I'm Lisa, I'm the bride. Drew, so welcome everyone. Steve is going to talk for a minute, and then I'm going to talk, and we'll stop talking.
Just thank God I'm not going to sing over here. That would be a train wreck. What I say now, every word of it comes from the bottom of my heart. I would like to just, Lisa and I would like to thank every single one of you, whether you come from 5 miles away or 500 miles away. Just thank you for sharing in this simcha with us. Lisa and I cannot be more elated to be here tonight, and we just want to extend our love and respect and gratitude for each and every one of you. On a personal note, I'd just like to extend a thank you to the two people and my brother who mean everything to me, who've given me everything that they have and still continue to give me everything they have. Thank you so much to my parents, Sam and Rochelle Rosenfeld, and my very special brother, Michael Rosenfeld. I love you so much. And my grandfather, Joel Zweibel, thank you so much. You mean the world to me. About a month before I proposed to Lisa, I went to the Boulderman residence and I said something then that I mean just as much now. I said I would like to become part of your family. And now I'm realizing this dream and I'm very excited. I really am. Thank you so much for letting me into your family. And Lisa, I couldn't be a happier man. Thank you.
Okay, pause your clapping. I just have to say a couple quick things to everyone before I call up my new in-laws to say a few words. So I will be very quick. There are just a few extra special people that I would like to mention. The first being my father's parents, Leon and Cirla Balderman of blessed memory. I know some of you here know them. They were wonderful people, and I wish they could have been with us today. Then, of course, my Nana and Grandpa, who you heard my grandmother's wonderful poem and my grandfather's joke. They have always been there for me, from overnights at their house, vacations all around the country. And Nana, you even came to my kindergarten class, and do you remember when you told off that mean bully? She was nice to me for a whole half a day. And to Grandpa, you always took me to shul every Shabbos. And I'll never forget that one time I was 8 years old, and I had a very pretty necklace. It broke, and I was in tears. But Grandpa said not to worry. He put me in his car, and off to the mall we went. And before the day was done, I had a brand new necklace. I was the happiest girl in the world. So, from writing books to telling jokes, creative poems, there's really nothing that my grandparents can't do. And then, of course, Mommy and Daddy, you're my role models. I think you both know that. If you don't know that, I'm telling you now in front of all of our closest family and friends. You've always led by example, and you showed all of us 5 kids how to treat other people when Zadie came to live with us. And I learned so much from that. And it really inspired me to go into social work and just to be a good person. Just like both of you are. I just think the world of you. So I was raised by parents who always took time for all of us. It's not easy to have 5 kids, but I never felt like I was pushed to the side. My mom always had special time for all of us. And no matter how busy life became, you were always there for everything. I grew up with a mother who worked full-time. She still does, as I think most everyone in this room knows. But somehow, every morning and every night, a fresh breakfast from scratch and a home-cooked fresh meal. There has never been takeout in the Balderman household. I was raised by a father who instilled Jewish values and a Jewish education in all of his children. He would take me to shul on Shabbos and Backstreet Boys concerts. Daddy, you're the best. So thank you both for encouraging independence and for helping to make my vision for this day come to life. Everything's beautiful, and I love you so much. Thank you for everything.